Hello and welcome to the summary of Chapter 1 with Dr. Joel B. Goodin. That's me. So here we have a pretty simple and straightforward um, task ahead of us. Briefly restate the key points discussed in the chapter. Review the headings and or table of contents. So if we looked above, we would find intro, problem, purpose, framework, nature, research questions, and then we would get into key terms. Oh, significance, sorry. I may not have these all in the right order. Key terms, and then obviously the summary. So, what do we need to include? Well, I will highlight that. I think that what you need basically is to hit on these. So here's how we would do that. Say the problem is, and restate the problem. The purpose is, and restate the purpose. Exactly. You always want to restate the problem and the purpose exactly as you did in Chapter 1 in their respective sections. You never want to alter or modify that wording throughout your entire dissertation. The guiding framework. In fact, you can say the problem. You can weave these sentences together. I'll show you. The guiding framework is methodology is, the design is. You really don't need to go much further into that. You're not going to write the word summarized, but so let's say there's 3 research questions. You try to summarize them very briefly in the same sentence. And you don't really need to go, you can have maybe one sentence. And then for kicks, you might add a transition sentence in something like in chapter 2, the framework and relevant literature will be discussed. And that's sort of setting it up for chapter 2. Here we can say the problem addressed by the proposed study is, and restate it. And then we can actually say guided by the framework, self-determination theory, or the self-determination framework, or self-determination theory instead of saying the word framework. Guided by that, and then let's insert quasi, so we're gonna put the quantitative so guided by, and so we're covering the framework here. I inserted the purpose there at the end here, so that's done. Methodology, here I just assumed that it was a quantitative quasi-experimental study, so that's the methodology and design. So these two, And so then you might say, how self-efficacy is related to the concept of calling, and how self-efficacy is predictive of medical specialty. It's actually a study I did at one point. And so it might ask those two questions, and notice I just sort of summarized them. So I've covered that. And then you could add a sentence about significance. Something like that. That's a significance statement. And then let's just steal the words that I have down here for a transition to chapter 2. There we have an entire, well, I didn't fill in everything, but fill in here, fill in all the bracketed options, and you've got a summary. You have briefly restated the key points. It's basically just go through and say basically one sentence about sort of the most important sections in chapter 1. And review the headings and or table of contents to ensure, or you can just go by what I've written here because I've done this 1,000 times. So all key points are covered, and you should be good to go on to chapter 2. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.